He had just won the war. His king was celebrating. The court was loud. Rewards were being arranged. Positions distributed. 20 years of sacrifice finally turning into something visible. And he was packing to leave. No announcement, no farewell. By morning, he'd be completely gone. Title, wealth, position, all of it left behind without a second look. The strange part wasn't that he left. The strange part was when. His name was Fan Li, and to understand why he walked away at the exact moment everyone else was moving forward, you have to understand what he and a man named Wen Chong had spent the last 20 years actually doing. Their king, Gojun, had once been a man with almost nothing left. He hadn't just lost a war, he had been publicly broken, forced to surrender, made to serve his enemy as a laborer, cleaning stables, running errands, performing tasks designed not just to use him, but to humiliate him in front of everyone watching. His rival wanted it known that Gojun was finished, not just defeated, finished.
Go Jian survived it. Every night he returned to a wooden board he slept on, deliberately. Not as punishment, but as a reminder. He reportedly kept a dried animal gallbladder nearby and tasted it every morning before anything else. Same reason. He did not want the humiliation to fade into background noise. He wanted it sharp, present. This was the man Fan Li and Wen Zhong chose to work with. Most people at the time would have looked at Go Jian and seen a broken ruler with no real path back. Fan Li and Wen Zhong looked at the same man and saw something different. Someone so thoroughly humiliated that he had nothing left to lose and 20 years of patience building inside him. They got to work. They didn't just advise. They rebuilt the entire foundation around him. The army was restructured from scratch. Recruitment, training, discipline, chain of command. The economy was reorganized to sustain a long conflict without collapsing under its own weight. Every alliance, every diplomatic move, every strategic decision over 2 decades ran through the two of them. Go Jian made the final calls, but Fan Li and Wen Zhong designed the system that made those calls possible. Nothing about what followed was luck. When the war finally came, the rival kingdom, the one that had humiliated Go Jian so thoroughly, was completely destroyed. Not pushed back, not weakened, gone. Go Jian stood at the top of the region with nothing left to threaten him. The court erupted. The celebration was the kind that 20 years of patience earns.
And that night, Fan Li sent one short message to Wen Zhong. When the birds are gone, the good bow is put away. When the enemy is destroyed, the advisors are next. Then he changed his name, left the capital quietly, walked away from the title, the wealth, the influence, everything, and built a small, ordinary life, somewhere no one knew who he was. Wen Zhong received the letter, read it, and stayed. He had his reasons, and they weren't weak ones. Wen Zhong hadn't just advised through a war. He had built the systems the kingdom now ran on, the army's entire structure, the treasury, the administration of every newly captured territory, all of it designed by him and understood fully only by him. The whole operation was essentially running on his institutional knowledge. Removing him wouldn't just be ungrateful, it would be genuinely risky for the state. He believed that made him safe. So while Fan Li quietly disappeared into obscurity, Wen Zhong went back to work. Same as always. Problems to solve, systems to maintain, a newly expanded kingdom that needed careful management. At first, nothing seemed unusual. He was still being consulted, still in the room for important conversations. The court still functioned largely through him. From the outside, it looked exactly like stability. The senior advisor doing what senior advisors do after a major victory. But then, something small happened. A meeting he would normally have attended took place without him. He noticed, said nothing, assumed it was a scheduling issue, something administrative, the kind of thing that happens during a complicated transition period. Then it happened again and again. When he and the king did speak, something in the tone was different. Nothing he could clearly name or point to. No hostility, no obvious coldness. Just a quality that hadn't been there before. Slightly more measured, slightly more formal. Like a door that didn't open as easily as it used to. Wenjong told himself it was the pressure of transition. Managing a kingdom that had just doubled in size created new dynamics. Things would settle. So he focused on the work. He solved problems before they were raised. He refined systems that were already running well. He made himself more useful, more embedded, more deeply woven into the fabric of the state than at any point before.
Months passed. The meetings without him continued. The conversations got shorter. Decisions he would previously have been part of were now being made upstream, handed down to him as instructions rather than questions. Still, Wenjong worked. He increased his output, stayed visible, made sure that any problem that could reflect poorly on the administration was solved quietly before it became public. He was not just useful, he was essential in the most literal sense. The machine did not run without him. Which, as it turns out, was exactly the problem. Because here is what Gojian was quietly sitting with on the other side of that relationship. For years, he had needed these two men to survive. Their judgment, their planning, their decisions. During the war, that dependency was simply the cost of winning. There was no alternative. He accepted it because he had to. But the war was over.
And now, with no external enemy to focus on, Gojian had time to sit with that dependency and look at it differently. Every time he looked at Wenjong now, he wasn't seeing the man who had helped him win. He was seeing a man who knew exactly how wars are won. A man who would design the army from the ground up and understood its structure at every level. A man who controlled the treasury and could read the kingdom's financial pressure points better than anyone. A man whose influence was woven into every part of the state. A man who, if he chose to act on any of that knowledge, would know precisely where to begin. Wenjong hadn't changed, but the way he was being seen had changed entirely. And that kind of shift doesn't announce itself. There are no accusations, no warnings, no confrontations where you get to defend yourself. Just small adjustments.
One closed door, then another, until one day the arrangement is complete, and you're the last person to realize it. Wenjong kept working harder. The door had already been shut. One morning, a formal delegation arrived at his residence. After 20 years of service, after masterminding one of the most remarkable reversals in the region's history, after designing and maintaining the systems that the kingdom still ran on every single day, Wenjong was being officially recognized by his king. He received the delegation properly, observed the ceremony, and opened the gift. No gold, no land grant, no new title or position. A sword. The accompanying note was precise. Wenjong had once proposed 7 strategies for defeating the enemy. The king acknowledged that. Only 3 had been necessary to achieve total victory. The remaining 4 strategies, the note suggested, could perhaps be put to use elsewhere. No accusation, no trial, no witnesses brought forward, no raised voices, no dramatic confrontation, no public spectacle. Just a sword, and a quiet suggestion about where it might be useful next. Wenjong understood immediately. There was nothing to argue. No defense that would change an outcome decided long before this delegation appeared at his door. The kingdom was still functioning. The systems were still running. Everything he had built was still intact. He was simply no longer part of it. The man who had spent 20 years constructing the foundation of the kingdom's power was removed from it, cleanly, quietly, without leaving a single visible mark on the surface of the court. Meanwhile, somewhere far from the capital, Fan Li was alive. No title, no position, no role in anything he had helped create. Just a quiet life in a place where nobody knew his name, completely free.
Most people spend their entire careers trying to make themselves impossible to remove. If you're the only one who understands the system, the only one who can hold it together, the only one they can't afford to lose, you're safe, right? But think about what that actually looks like from the other side of the table. There's a pattern you see in companies all the time. Someone becomes the person everything runs through. Every decision, every crisis, every problem that nobody else can solve. It lands with them. They're the last one to leave. The first one called when something breaks. The one person the whole operation quietly depends on. And for a while, that feels like power. Then, slowly, without any announcement, things start to shift. They get passed over for a promotion that should have been obvious. A new system gets built that routes around them. Decisions that used to require their input now don't. And when they finally ask why, the answer is always something vague. Something about restructuring, or direction changes, or fit. But what actually happened is simpler than that. At some point, the person above them stopped seeing someone valuable and started seeing someone they couldn't fully control. Not because anything changed, just because the math changed. Fang Li understood that moment. The war ended. He didn't wait to find out what happened next. Wenzong stayed because he believed being needed was the same as being safe. It isn't. The bow is only kept while there are birds to hunt. Fang Li knew which one he was. Wenzong never quite accepted it.